Hello and welcome back to Zero Cool Gaming in today's long play of Reckoning with commentary. So today I'm going to do a review of the video game called The Experiment. That's what it's called on the copy of it that I have. It goes by a couple of names. I always find it interesting that there's different names in different parts of the world for the same game. But, you know, censorship, you gotta love it. So, basically, The Experiment is about a research ship that was doing genetic research on plants, and they developed by accident a pathogen that was capable of mutating and evolving not only the plant life around them, but as well as the animals around them. And of course that led to a whole lot of problems, a myriad of issues that essentially killed or reformed, I guess is a better way of putting it, most of the crew, and forever altering the rest of the crew, including yourself.
So, did you get the card? Very good. I'll keep it.
Now, I realize that there's a lot of things that go on in that respect. And it would be inappropriate for me to summarize it in such an easy way. So, essentially, this game starts where you have hacked into, by accident, a research facility, CCTV cameras and access to their computer systems and anything else that can be, any other device that can be connected online. And as a result of this, you end up having to help a member of this ship that has somehow survived the occurrences that have happened on this ship.
How is that possible? I should have aged. I should be dead of hunger. Who are you?
I'm the commanding officer of this ship. It's mine. All those living here are at my command. And you too. You must obey me. And so, answer me. What did you do to our dogs? Did you poison them? You evildoer.
Not at all.
Shh, shh. You don't know what's in store for you. Beasts everywhere. No time to sleep. They watch over the smallest weakness. We have to get rid of them. There. Up there on the funnel. The bird's nest. An egg. It's going to hatch. A new little monster. Bring it to me. We'll reward you. I can't do it. Vertigo.
You want me to go get an egg, is that it?
Quickly, quickly. I want that egg.
Go on.
For over 100 years without aging. And your task is to help her figure out exactly what happened on the ship and then eventually rescue her from this ship, as well as the surrounding wildlife that seemingly is wanting to kill anything that has not already been altered in very dramatic ways. It's an interesting game, to say the least. It is a point-and-click adventure. And there are a lot of good story points throughout it, as you discover what happened to these people and why.
It was Paul de Provence, our cook, who alerted me to the python near the storeroom. I have no idea how it got in here. We can see the checkered pattern made by its scales. Wait, let me zoom in. It's a male, about 5 years of age. It has just finished shedding its scales. The dead skin was found in the alleyway of the lower deck. What is most strange is that it doesn't display the same patterns. I've observed several spontaneous mutations of animals on board, a rodent, a bird, several cockroaches. How to explain this? This phenomenon is worrying me tremendously. Are we in the presence of a genetic pathology?
And what you can do to help some of them, as well as get rid of the more violent mutations that occurred as a result of the experiment, or experiments plural, that they were engaging in. And basically how this game plays out is, like I said, it's a point and click adventure where you have access to cameras and computer systems, as well as different lights throughout the ship that you can turn on and off to direct the player character within the game as to where to go and what to do and what to look for. And
I think that the chamber is where the hydroxide oxygen ingredients need to be mixed. Hold on, I have to remember the procedure. The ingredients to the second part need to be mixed first. Ingredient B is already in the chamber, but I don't have ingredient A. If we're lucky, we'll find it on this floor.
she also helps you along the way. Initially, she has her doubts as to who you are and what you're doing and why. but eventually realizes that you're just a random individual who accidentally gained access to this system, not by deliberate attempt, but by just accident in that respect. There are a few other twists to that, don't get me wrong, but that's essentially what the game's about. And you go through and activate different cameras, which help you to see where the player character is going to be going, and you try to help her to avoid dangerous animals and obstacles and things like that along the way. You also end up controlling a few different parts of technology.
Catastrophe.
Everything from rovers to underwater submersibles, things of this effect, to try to achieve the objective of learning the different aspects of what actually happened, help her to understand what's happened, and not necessarily correct any of it, but possibly rescue her at the end of it, even though she too has been infected and affected by the research that was carried out. And the game really never goes into what would happen to her should you choose to have her get rescued, rather than allowing her to just stay on the ship and live with the the beings that now exist. As a result of not only the genetic manipulation that they underwent, but the evolution that has occurred as a result over the last 100 years. So it is a very twisted game, to say the least. But absolutely a game that I enjoyed. The only thing I didn't like about this game was the timer that was on this game. The game itself, if you know exactly what you're doing, will take like 6 to 7 hours. So it's not a very long game. But if you don't know what you're doing and you have to go back and forth repeatedly like I did, there's somewhere between 20 and 30 hours of gameplay in this. And I enjoyed that. I like longer games like this. I guess they kind of make me feel engaged and like I'm helping than actually achieving something. But no, I didn't like the real-time clock.
The door is closed. There must be a code. Look in Major Leonard's personal records. He must have written it somewhere. Do you have the password to access the system? No? We'll have to find it. Unless...
And I eventually had to accept the real-time clock and then subsequently beat the game in a couple of days rather than months like I normally would have. Did it make the gameplay more enjoyable? Absolutely not. It just forced me to engage with it more than I actually wanted to. That's why I don't like these type of systems where there's a timer. And there is absolutely a timer in this game. And that's what I didn't like about it. I didn't like the timer. I wish that that wasn't the thing that this game chose to engage in. But it does, and we have to deal with that. So basically you go through and, like I said, you help her to avoid the pitfalls, the venomous creatures that are scattered throughout the environment.
Awesome. It works. I'm updating the objectives.
And other beings that would mean to do her harm. Your objective is to make sure that she gets through this without dying. So it's not a bad objective, but it is very easy to fail at that objective in this game, because you told her to go the wrong way and you hadn't removed the threat before doing so. And the end result is that, yeah, she just dies. And I don't necessarily mind that part of the game. I think that that actually adds to the gameplay in a positive manner. Truly. So, essentially the main part of this gameplay is you going around, like I said, using the cameras and computer systems, and as well as the lighting system, to direct the player within the game, the NPC, so to speak, as well as help her to remember what actually happened on the ship and the types of experiments that were carried out, and what the moral ramifications of that are. And there are quite a few of them. Excuse me. And in the process of doing so, you actually meet some survivors, if you want to call it that. People kind of like yourself who survived the infection to where it didn't alter them too badly. I mean, they're obviously altered. Some of them are quite insane as a result, but still essentially human.
Can't see too much more. The electric generator must be tired. I'm not gonna get anywhere without any lights. So where do we go now? Hey, the phone? I get it, it's you. There's a river, too. There, under the floor grids. And that lichen growing without light? A real mystery.
And others that are absolutely not. So it is a very intriguing game, to say the least. And there's a lot of good parts to it. And like I said, the one part that I really like was just the timer that was applied to this game. It knows how long you've been not playing it, and like I said, I've never liked games that do that. And I've played a lot of games that do that. I mean, Final Fantasy 13 Part 3 is a game that does that, and while I didn't like the timer system, for whatever reason, I actually enjoyed the game. I played it like 6 times through. It's one of those weird twists. Most people hated the game for much of the same reasons that I hated it. I mean, I didn't like the timer system either. I thought it was stupid and absolutely unnecessary. But they gave you a way to basically infinitely expand that to where it didn't really matter that there was a time system.
And here I thought I had no repair skills. Turns out I'm not so clumsy. Let's take care of the other generator now. This generator seems to work. It should restart without any problems. Impeccable. Let's see if everything is working well from the control room.
So kind of unique in that respect, truly. And I realize that there's a lot of things that this game does wrong and just makes it cumbersome and a slog to get through, but with a little determination, a little patience, and some amount of desire to actually complete it, you can get through it relatively easily. Like I said, about 20 to 30 hours of gameplay, assuming that you don't know exactly what you need to do, or you haven't watched and read a tutorial on exactly how to get through it. It doesn't make it easy. You have a lot of files that you need to read. What would you call that? Discussions that different people have with each other within the game. Correspondence, I guess, is a way of putting that. And there's quite a bit of that, and you have to go through all of it, as well as like research notes and different people's ideas to what's actually happening. A lot of video files, like VODs, short VODs. I mean, most of them aren't that long. I think the longest one's probably 10-15 minutes. So they don't make you like sit there and watch a 3-hour VOD of something that truly has, no impact on the game. And for that, I do appreciate that, truly. I mean, that's a definite plus to this game, that they don't make you go through and watch hundreds of hours of useless information. And I've played games that do, so it's not like it's something that I initially didn't think was going to happen, because I absolutely did. I thought that this game was going to make me go through, probably not hundreds of hours, but let's say 50-60 hours of useless information just to pull a single tidbit of information out of that. I was hoping it wouldn't do that, and it surprisingly taught me that it wasn't going to make me do that. But like I said, I've absolutely played games that did. This was a far cry from the first game that I've ever played that actually did make me do things like that.
This way? Got it. I'm off. Right behind you. I trust you.
It's over, my pretty.
So, happy days indeed. And it's not a bad story. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, yeah, she's outlived essentially everyone. And the few that did survive are insane. Or have been so dramatically changed that they're no longer human. But regardless, it was a fun ride. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good fun. Definitely something that I would play again. And I will play again eventually. And then put that playthrough online. When I first started this, I was going to try to keep up with my videos on gameplay and games that I played and provide a full playthrough of each game that I reviewed. And I quickly realized that that really is not possible because some of these games are really, really long. And there's just not enough hours in the day for me to do that and upload videos every day, or create and upload videos.
Miss Nichols, this is the Vanuatu Rescue Center. The helicopter is near you. It won't be long until you see it. Miss Nichols, can you hear me? Miss Nichols?
With your presence, Leah, you have opened the site of convergence where the prophecy may be fulfilled. And now the choice is yours. Do you wish to stay with the Tyriads at 112 side? Or do you wish to return to the human world?
Because it's not just a matter of uploading videos, truly. I mean, I have to create these videos before I upload them. And that in and of itself is not easy. It takes time. So today I wanted to do a short discussion about, some of the insanity that's happening in this world. But I wanted to make it a little lighthearted by giving you a video of Awaken with JP, discussing some of the absolute wrongness that we currently have to deal with. Yay! Oh, I almost died from that. So I guess I'll go ahead and start the video on that, and we can have a short discussion afterwards. So like I said, this is Awaken with JP, and the name of the video that we'll be watching is Deception is Safe and Effective.
President Trump didn't commit. So it's a matter of diverting resources for national security. And oddly enough, people with knowledge of Biden's crimes seem to be disappearing. Take a look.
9 of the 10 people that we've identified that have very good knowledge with respect to the Bidens, they're one of 3 things, Maria. They're either currently in court, they're currently in jail, or they're currently missing.
So if the current team of investigators looking into Hunter and Joe's crimes know what's good for them, they'll stop. And they have. Now, To help divert your attention from all that, let us remind you about the climate crisis. Pretty devastating, am I right? Over the weekend, I took an investigative journalistic trip to Oklahoma to measure the dramatic effects of the climate crisis. And as you can see here, the sea levels in Oklahoma have risen dramatically. Oddly enough, sea levels on the coast have drastically risen to the exact same level they've been for the past 300 years. To help protect yourself from the homicidal climate, continue ignoring the criminal activity of the Biden crime family, including the weaponization of the FBI to sway elections by going after their political opponents, and continue focusing on the fear you feel when we tell you how afraid you should be of the climate. This just in! Today's climate fear level is red, and will continue to be red until AI kills us all to harvest our organs. And in other news, Bud Light sales have dropped by over 23%, and the company has lost more than $5 billion of value. No explanation why. Moving along, Netflix has launched a widely popular series about Cleopatra, with a twist. They've turned the historically and provably white figure black. Why? Because Netflix doesn't mind using black people for their own gain of appearing more virtuous. While Netflix is a fan of their Cleopatra depiction, nobody else is, apparently. Cleopatra knocked it out of the park with the lowest audience score in Netflix history. It's also achieved the lowest audience score ever on Rotten Tomatoes, with a 2%. As fate would have it, instead of hiring a team of writers for the show, Netflix hired a team of diversity specialists.
Alright, so I would guess that from hearing that you get the idea. Our government's engaged in some pretty despotic criminal BS, and much like Hillary Clinton and the Clinton files, where people end up in prison, in missing, or killing themselves. The Biden regime is much the same, where they end up in prison fighting to keep themselves out of prison, or just blatantly missing because they couldn't find anything that they were capable of lying about that allowed them to paint these people as, horrible, evil, racist bigots. Because obviously everyone who knows the Biden regime knows that they're perfectly honest, moral, upstanding citizens of society and would never engage in criminal acts, in much the same way that the Clintons would never engage in criminal acts, except for all the criminal acts that they engaged in.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others, to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
The same thing with the Hunter Biden laptop. I mean, the FBI confiscated it from the local police that it was turned into. And then they went out of their way to ensure that they accidentally lost it. Because, Nothing says security by, like, losing evidence that would prove that our political establishment are criminals. But it's okay, because when the FBI loses something, they have a history of losing evidence that would prove that the political establishment is guilty of crimes. And because they have a history of losing this evidence, there's nothing to look at here, and it's perfectly normal for them to do so, and you really shouldn't look into that too deeply, because obviously they would never do anything deliberate to ensure that none of these people are held accountable for the crimes they've committed. I mean, absolutely not. I mean, come on. This is the Biden regime. The most evil, corrupt human beings on the planet currently that are in power.
Hundreds of migrants in custody were told they were detained over the past few days with another group that was trying to cross into the U.S. today.
Yeah, CBS 8's Jasmine Ramirez spent the day at the border and shares what's believed to be behind this influx.
We've seen what appears to be a group of migrants lined up along the border wall here in San Ysidro. We've counted a few dozen so far. Take a look at this video. You can see people right on the other side of the border wall this evening. We're waiting to hear back from Border Patrol and get more information about what we saw. This is the third day a large group of migrants tried to cross into the United States. Border Patrol officials say Friday it was nearly 90 people, more than 100 yesterday morning and about 400 detained last night. This morning there were another 200 migrants.
These are human beings, and just like most of the people that are here, not all, most come from migrant families.
Title 42 had allowed the United States to quickly deport migrants seeking asylum. The Trump-era public health law is set to expire next week, and Border Patrol agents believe this is what's causing the influx. Immigration activists say the migrant shelters aren't able to keep up.
The smugglers will often say, get on up, there's room for you at the shelters, just show up at the line and say that you're claiming asylum. That's not the way it works, and so the shelters don't know what to do.
Once Title 42 is no longer in place, border officials will follow laws created under Title 8, which means the U.S. will continue deporting migrants crossing illegally. Those caught could be banned from reapplying for asylum for 5 years. The Department of Homeland Security says it's prepared.
And they would never do anything to tarnish their good name, except for all the crimes they've committed, that they'll never be held accountable for. Who would have guessed that our corrupt justice system could be weaponized in such a way to protect these, criminals from accountability for the crimes, and then weaponized against somebody like Trump for crimes that he never committed? Who would have guessed? Yeah, we live in a horrible, horrible existence currently. And our government is the reason for that. And rather than reflecting and realizing that they need to change the laws to get rid of the protections they've given themselves, they continuously vote to give themselves more power. We don't live in a democracy anymore, people. We live in a communist dictatorship. And it's only going to get worse until we do something to make it better. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. I hope you enjoy the rest of yours. If you could hit the like, subscribe, rumble, follow buttons, all that does help. And I will talk to you later.